Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, comic book fan. Welcome to another Top Comic Book Picks Live with VM Campos. Hey, that's me. This is the series where we talk about comic books that are coming soon to a comic shop near you. This is the series where we look at the issue number ones that are going to debut, some cool variant covers, collections, or other like valuable comics that you might be into with like cool stories and such. Thank you for joining the video live, the stream live. We're gonna be streaming every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, or you can replay the video after the fact. Plus, after the fact, there'll be a bunch of chapters and stuff in the description. You can jump from company to company, and down on the progress bar as well. So if you're here live, let's check out some comics. If you're here after the fact, you can check it out in the replay now. Sorry about this. I'm getting a bunch of pop-ups over here. 2 p.m. Yep, I'm way too popular. Okay, so anyway, let's get over to talk about the comics that are coming out soon. So I've got that brand new transition happening between scenes, although it seems to conflict with my regular music going on. I'm still figuring it out. Do we want the music plus the transition? Who knows? Anyway, the purpose of the show is to talk about the final order cutoff date, which is going to be this Monday. I'm recording this, I'm broadcasting live, that is, this Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Adjust your time zone, where we talk about the final order cutoff date. These are the comics that you need to order by this deadline, Monday, so that you're then guaranteed a copy of your own comic. Let's start over here with Marvel Comics. So here's the one that I'm picking, the Amazing Spider-Man number 48, the Gurihiru Heroes at Home variant. So this is kind of fun. Marvel is doing these variant covers, Heroes at Home. Here we have Peter Parker. He's baking some croissants, I guess, you know, putting croissants in the oven, vacuuming the house. That vacuum's way fancier than mine. Doing his laundry, talking to MJ probably. Just working on his web shooters, but wait, what's this? Uh-oh. He's putting active dry yeast into his web shooters, which then he realizes, oh, he put his web pack into the oven with the croissants instead. So there's a big old mess in the kitchen, so that's hilarious. This is issue 48 of the series. It's been going on for a long time. Internal art by Mark Bagley. Nick Spencer is the writer, so it's just an ongoing series. But I picked this one up just because I thought the cover was pretty fun. And Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters. I think he looks a little too young and cartoony here than what I like, but there are valid versions of Spider-Man for everyone to enjoy. There's another one here. This is the Captain Marvel 21. The same Heroes at Home variant edition. The galaxy isn't big enough for the both of us. You may try to vanquish me, but I won't take it easy. I wouldn't have it any other way. Then it Sorry, I'm late. So, oh, look at that. Even in the world of superheroes, they also have to do the I declare my intention to fight you both to the death, just as soon as that's a safe and responsible thing to do. So even in the world of superheroes, they're doing these social distancing, Zoom meeting type of things. And then here we have the three main characters, the Kree and the Skrull versus Captain Marvel going on here. And then, of course, the pet gets in the way of the web camera. So hilarious. Just like in real life, when my pet gets in the way, I'm trying to do work, and then my cat jumps on my lap. Hey, it's time to eat. So I picked this one here. This is another one of these... is one of these Gurihiru Heroes at Home variant covers for Captain Marvel. I kind of like the cartoonier style on this one better than the Peter Parker one. I think she looks really cool there with her hair flying out, and of course Jonesy and everyone. So that's my pick right here. Moving to the next one. The Captain Marvel 21, this is the Chris Bachalo spoiler variant. I don't think that it'll actually have this classified cover, or maybe it'll be like a double cover. We don't fully get a sense of it here, but this is one of these covers that you don't know about until they're sold out, but VM Campos is telling you all about them. So call up your comic shops and tell them, I need the Captain Marvel 21 Bachalo spoiler variant cover. VM Campos told me all about it. Put it in my pull list. You're welcome. Kelly Thompson is the writer. Corey Smith is the artist. And this is going to be the Chris Bachalo variant. This is an Empire tie-in, the big event that's going on at Marvel at the moment, or one of them, I guess. A Captain's Legacy, the Accused finale, the rise and fall of the Supreme Accuser, the end of a war, the end of an era, and the birth of an even more dangerous world. Carol Danvers must make a choice that will define her life and the lives of those closest to her. Rated Teen Plus, in shops September 9th. Order it by this Monday, the 17th, to be guaranteed your copy of it at the comic shops. Got a lot of Marvel books this time around. So here we have Empire, Aftermath, Avengers 1. So here's one of these #1 issues that I'm always on the lookout for. Written by Al Ewing, art by Valerio Schiti, and cover art by Jim Chung. The end of Empire begins a new age for the Marvel Universe. In the aftermath of the cosmic conflict, the forces gather one last time, but why? And at whose bidding? New bonds will be forged, new families will be founded, and there's a new role waiting for Earth. But new destinies bring new dangers and new enemies. Welcome to the new Marvel Space Age. True believer, hope you survive the experience. So an amazing cover over here. This is by Jim Chung. It's sort of like this style of close to realism. You know, we've got like really cartoony styles like Chris Bachalo's style. Then we've got these really realistic styles like Alex Ross. And then I think in the middle is kind of like this style right here, where it's a little bit of both, and I like it. Now, obviously, in the most recent huge epic of the Empire storyline, we had some big changes going on, and then a very progressive wedding right here. Very cool. So here's the Thing crying, and Spider-Man hanging out upside down. What do you think of Mr. Fantastic's beard, the look that he's been doing recently after when they started publishing Fantastic Four again? He came back with a beard. I kind of like it. Not sure why, even though actually I've got more of a Van Dyke than a beard. So, yeah, there's a #1 issue. There's Quicksilver. I like this cover a lot, and a good jumping on point. If you didn't read the full the full Empire storyline, here's a kind of a self-contained issue, but with other important plot points. We've got Empire Fallout, Fantastic Four #1, Alex Ross, Timeless variant, Dan Slott writer, Sean Azaxi as the artist, and Alex Ross cover. This is what I'm saying about the extremes. Here's like the uber realism, the ultra realism of Alex Ross. So we have a really cool looking, very tough Namor the Submariner, Prince of Atlantis. The fate of the future Kree Skull Wars is placed in the hands of Reed Richards and his family, the Fantastic Four. There is no standard issue of a Marvel comic, True Believer. This is no standard issue of a Marvel comic, True Believer. 2 major turning points for the entire Marvel Universe will take place here. Also in this issue, the Profiteer returns, but is she here for revenge or justice? And a special appearance by the most ominous cosmic character of them all, the Unseen. So, yep, this Empire storyline that's been going on, it's touched every sort of Marvel character at the moment, and here we have Fantastic Four. If you're a Fantastic Four fan, they're playing a big role in the world of Marvel Comics again. We just need to have a good Marvel Comics movie, a good Fantastic Four Marvel movie, right? Last Marvel, actually one more. One of the Marvel books here, Rise of Ultraman #1 of 5. So are you into Ultraman? What's his name in the original Japanese? I know like Power Rangers is like Super Sentai or whatever. I don't remember if Ultraman is Ultraman in Japan or some other thing. But anyway, so Marvel has the Ultraman license in the US at the moment, and here we have the Rise of Ultraman. Matt Groom, writer, Kyle Higgins as well, Francesco Manna as the artist, and Michael Cho as the interior art. In darkness there lurks kaiju, terrifying and unfathomable monsters. Between kaiju and the rest of us stands the United Science Patrol. But who are these enigmatic defenders, and how do they perform their miracles? Shin Hayata and Kiki Fuji have spent half a lifetime trying to find out, and their quest is about to drive them towards a decades-old dark secret, and put them on a collision course with a mysterious warrior from beyond the stars. Kyle Higgins from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, speaking of which, Matt Groom, Selfmade, and Francesco Mana, Avengers, reimagine the classic origin of a pop culture icon as the rise of Ultraman begins. So cool jumping on point for Ultraman, a character that's been around since the 70s, maybe even the 60s, and over at Marvel Comics. So this is a classic photo variant. There's a bunch of variants for this series. Let's see, what are the other books? Here is Alex Ross variant cover, amazing. And then we've got a little bit of interior preview right here. Let's take a quick look at some of the interiors. So, the Ultra Talents of today reimagine the classic origin of pop culture icon. And, ooh, pretty epic right there. And, yeah, cool art in the year 2020 and so forth. So, yep, if you're into Ultraman, I guess here's the various variant covers. Ed McGuinness. So Ultraman. Ooh, Spider-Man and Ultraman. I love that. They sold me a copy right there. Next, Star Wars Bounty Hunters #1, third printing. Okay, so this is a shout out to all of the comic book collectors, speculators, and so forth. So I count myself as a comic book reader, a comic book fan, and a comic book investor or collector. And one of the things to keep on the lookout for are later printings of a hot book. So people love Boba Fett, of course, and the whole Fett family. And here's a new issue #1. So one of the things about collecting comic books is, I'm going to do a whole video about this later on, is it an issue #1? Does it have an important plot line? Does it have like a first appearance of a character? What's the print run? And then like what's the printing? The print version and variant covers. There's a lot of factors to it. This hits a bunch of them. This is an issue #1 of a popular character, and it's a third printing, which means it's a low print run. Second, third, fourth, fifth printings have been getting hot recently in the last few years. I think it started kind of probably after like the last Marvel Secret Wars, where they started to print a lot of fourth and fifth printings of various books, and even those have a value. Even over like on Rick and Morty #1 is big bucks. Even second printing is big bucks. Third printing, even all the way to like fifth and sixth printings of Rick and Morty are still pretty valuable. So you don't want to miss out on that. Here is a third printing of Star Wars. This is the Lee Bermejo cover. Pretty epic cover there. It's third printing. Regular price there. It's going to be low printed and low ordered. So if you want your own cover of this collectible plus the story, you want to tell your comic shop, VM Campos told me all about it, buy it for me, please. Order it for me. Along the same lines, Thor #1, third printing. This is the Nick Klein variant cover. I kind of love this cover. It's kind of like a chunky Thor kind of style, and I love like this outline around everything. It looks kind of like sketchy as well. I love it. So third printing, and you can tell right there also in the barcode. Here's a tip on reading barcodes. The first 3 digits are the issue number. The next digit is the variant cover number, and the third is the printing. So it's issue 001, Legacy 727. And variant cover #1. So if it was like, someone else's Alex Ross variant cover, it'd be 2 or whatever. And then third printing right there. Usually that's almost always #1 there, but this is a 3 because it's the third printing. And once again, third printings, low print runs, and so forth, more for the collectors, the speculators, the investors of comics. And if you're into it for the story and so forth, it's an issue #1, even though it's issue 727. You don't have to go back and read 726 issues of a comic book of a series. Here it restarts at issue #1 to get in on the ground floor. Very cool cover. I like that one. Another Marvel book. Like I said, there's a lot of Marvel books coming out soon. Web of Venom, Wraith #1. Donny Cates is the writer. Everyone's loving Cates' work, and I think he's spread a little too thin, working on a bunch of things. Guy Villanova as the as the artist, and cover artist is Kyle Hutz. Since his appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy, one thing Wraith has made perfectly clear is that he's hunting Null, the god of the symbiotes. So if you haven't been paying attention to the whole Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage plots, the big crossover and summer event has been Null, the god of the symbiotes. So back for the days, like, it's so interesting how the symbiotes have changed through the world of Marvel. It was first, this special outfit that Spider-Man acquired back in like 1984 during Secret Wars, the very first one on the Battle World, and it was a thing that was feeding off of his essence to live, off of Peter Parker. He got rid of it, eventually became Venom. Venom became amazingly popular. Then we got Carnage and Shriek and Scream and so forth, Toxin, Agent Venom, so many symbiotes. The thing that I don't like, to be honest, is how they also shoehorned in Deadpool and retconned Deadpool to be part of the alien symbiote mythology of it all. Like, don't even get me started on it. I don't like that retcon. And other things about it is that, okay, the symbiotes came from their own planet. They were actually known as the Clintar. Then they have Null, the god of the symbiotes that's been around for millennia, and he's coming to Earth to do bad stuff. So, now, in the wastelands on the outskirts of the cosmos, he'll have his chance to face him. So it's kind of combining the cosmic nature of things plus the symbiote Venom sort of thing, and then we've got Null. This is a pretty epic cover. I love, like, all of the detail about everything. I kind of don't like that he's kind of like floating in the air, in the cosmos, I guess. And I like that it's a throwback of the Web of Spider-Man logo that they had from back in the day. And a pretty epic cover. So we got there a brand new Venom book to enjoy. Moving over to IDW, Star Wars Adventures Annual 2020. So Marvel had the license for Star Wars back in the 70s, and then they lost it or whatever, so then Dark Horse had the license for like 20 years, just until like 2015, and then Marvel got it back because, of course, Disney bought Marvel and they have Star Wars and all of that. So they, however, are also subcontracting out Star Wars stories, some Star Wars stories, over to IDW. More of the Star Wars adventure sort of thing, which is like the more young reader style of Star Wars books. And so there's a new Star Wars Adventures Annual. I like annuals. I like recommending annuals because these are self-contained little anthology stories, and I kind of like that. Where a regular issue of a comic, you've got to be reading so many. You need to buy the trade paperback to binge read the whole thing. And I like these annuals because they often have little stories. Self-contained, digestible stories. Written by Cavan Scott, Nick Brokenshire, art by Nick Brokenshire and Francesco Gaston, and cover art by Mariette. Framed for a crime he didn't commit, Jackson, and if you don't know Jackson, it's this Bucky O'Hare looking character, although this character came out before Bucky O'Hare, even though they're both green rabbits from space. Framed for a crime he didn't commit, Jackson finds himself at odds with the Empire, the Rebellion, and his ex-partner Amiza Foxtrain, co-starring Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie in the days leading up to The Empire Strikes Back, plus an all-new tale of everyone's favorite droid bounty hunter from The Empire Strikes Back, IG-84, with apologies to Forlom. So, get a close-up over here. Jackson, and that's, what's that other bounty hunter's name? Bosk, I believe that's Bosk. Pretty cool cover. I kind of don't like his hands. Are like, what is his hands doing? They're kind of weird. Bosk looks cool. Jackson looks cool. His ears are really furry. Kind of gross right there. Cool expression. And I bet they meant him to hold on to like his huge weapon, but Disney's like, no, you can't have weapons on a cute rabbit. Anyway, this is the Star Wars Adventure Annual, and that's the one I'm recommending over here from IDW. What about yourself? Do you like the Star Wars books? Do you like picking up annuals? Do you know some of this more like fringe Star Wars characters? Like Jackson, have you ever heard of Jackson? Tell me all about it there in the comments, in the chat. Here's another IDW book. Beauty of Horror. Haunt this. Okay, sometimes the names that they show here don't make too much sense. The Beauty of Horror. Haunt this journal. That's the full name. Alan Robert is the writer, as well as the cover artist and interior artist. Let's look at the cover art first of all right here. Perfect for Halloween. A gorgeous companion to the best-selling coloring book series. So really, really cool, disturbing cover. It looks like it's made out of pieces of found objects. Like these look like those classic, like, you know, witch brooms right there, plus like shark teeth and just torn up paper with blood and burns and a little skull. Hey, that skull reminds me of Elmira from Tiny Toons. I've been rewatching Tiny Toon Adventures. I think it still holds up. I think it's still pretty cool, even though it came out 30 years ago, 1990. And I watched it in my youth, and it's still very enjoyable. I want to see some Tiny Toons comics. Tiny Toons has been dead for a long time, unfortunately, but it lives in my heart. Anyway, back to this comic. They say there is nothing more frightening than the blank page. And up to now, they'd probably be right. The Beauty of Horror, Haunt This Journal, will give you nightmares for days. Follow ghastly fan favorite Gulina on a macabre descent into madness as she prompts and pokes your every move. Abide her direction, or else she may seek her revenge. Now this is $14.99, and it's kind of a companion to that coloring book, and it looks pretty cool. I like this sort of aesthetic. What about yourself? Do you like the scary Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas, Jonan Vasquez style of like cute, scary stuff? I know I do, and this one's coming out soon from IDW. So that's one I'm recommending this week. Moving over to Dark Horse Comics, Bill and Ted Are Doomed, #1. If we look down here, the official prequel to Bill and Ted Face the Music. So after 25 years, we're getting a new Bill and Ted movie. Nostalgia is a heck of a drug. So I remember watching the original Bill and Ted movie, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, in theaters. And at the time, what often happened was me or my family would always get to the theater late. So in the 80s and the 90s, we would always get there late. We would always miss like 10 minutes of the movie. There's like a whole bunch of movies from the 80s and partly the 90s where like I don't remember the first 10 minutes. The Goonies, every time I watch the Goonies again, I'm like, I don't even remember these first 10 minutes. Jurassic Park, that happened on that. What else? I remember the Goonies, Jurassic Park, Batman. Watching the original Batman in '89, we got there late. So there's a whole generation of movies that like we got there late. Bill and Ted is one of them as well. So then when I saw the sequel, Bill and Ted Go to Hell, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, that was the original secret title. I watched it on VHS, so I know how it goes. And then 25 years later, we get a sequel with Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. And here's the comic book adaptation. After defeating the evil dictator Denomolos in Bogus Journey in 1995, things aren't looking as excellent as they should be for either Bill or Ted. There's tension in the band and worry at home. Bill and Ted's obsessiveness with writing the one song to bring peace to the world is affecting their playing and their relationship with their families. The excellent princesses, right? The band is losing favor with fans, and the future isn't shaping up as they were led to believe it would from the past and the future events. Desperate for a solution, Bill and Ted burst in to announce their great idea to revive the band's fortunes. A world tour to spread the love and the rock, and the love of the rock to the world. So, Evan Dorkin was involved in the last version of Bill and Ted comics, which I believe were published by Marvel back in the 90s. Evan Dorkin, who created Milk and Cheese, Dork, exclamation point, along with Sarah Dyer, are like really cool like indie cartoonists from the 80s and the 90s. And Dorkin worked on the original Bill and Ted comic for Marvel. And here now they're at Dark Horse. And Dorkin only did the cover. I like his style. I always like Dorkin's style. He's only doing the writing. The interior art is by Roger Landridge, and this is the variant cover by Evan Dorkin. So if you're into Bill and Ted, here's a brand new Bill and Ted comic to whet your appetite before you watch the movie. Another Dark Horse book, Cyberpunk 2077, Trauma Team number 1 of 4. Cullen Bunn is the writer, and Miguel Valderrama is the artist. Nadia, an assistant EMT for a privately owned business known as Trauma Team International, is the sole survivor of a failed rescue mission turned shootout. After she agrees to continue to work for an upcoming extraction mission, Nadia and her team find themselves in an even more dangerous and life-threatening situation. Featuring the incredible creative team of Cullen Bunn from Harrow County and Uncanny X-Men, and illustrator Miguel Valderrama of Giants. Getting a close-up of the cover right here. So Cyberpunk 2077 is a video game series, right? And I'm kind of seeing like a resurgence of cyberpunk, retro wave, vaporwave style of art. And this cover looks pretty cool. We don't get any interior art as a preview, but I like this aesthetic, this cyberpunk, this future retro style of things. And this is issue 1 of 4, so perfect jumping on point to this series. There have been other Cyberpunk 2077 comics out. This is the latest one. And yeah, this is over from Dark Horse Comics. Image Comics, marked number 7, cover A, the Brian Haberlin, Giorod Van Dyke cover. So I didn't see a lot of Image books this week to really recommend, but here's one that stood out to me. Lovecraft in the Underworld, Part 2. For Pope and Clara to save Lovecraft, they must sacrifice their own ambitions. Will the marked superstars give up fame for the sake of one miserable half-mad writer? So I'm picking up I'm recommending issue 7, but it's part 2 of the series, so you might want to go back. I mean, it's part 2 of the storyline. You might go back to issue 6 to kind of keep up to date what this is all about. And this stood out to me because I like this cover. I like this stark black and white and red cover. And this sort of like, this creature plus the main character plus intricate sleeve tattoos. Very cool basic design of the character, but still very evocative, contrasted with the creature. This is from Shadowline, imprint of Image Comics. Image has been around 25 years themselves or more now, and they're like the go-to comic publisher for like interesting indie creator-owned comics. Really, really support them. You gotta check out their wide variety of books. And this is one to get in on. David Hine and Brian Haberlin are the writers. Not a number 1, but it's like a one-shot related to the whole Ice Cream Man series. Is a really weird series, Ice Cream Man. It's Ice Cream Man Presents Quarantine Comics Special. Maxwell Price is the writer. Artist and cover artists Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran. In the early days of the pandemic, the team behind Ice Cream Man launched an online-only series of mini-comics set in the Ice Cream Man universe. The project was called, predictably, Quarantine Comics. These strange little ditties were meant to tide folks over while the industry was on pause, and also raise money for struggling comic shops, with 50% of all proceeds donated to Comic Book United Fund. Now collected in everyone's preferred format, a floppy comic book, are all 6 issues of Quarantine Comics, featuring brand new cover art and bonus stories. And as before, 50% of creator profits will go to Comic Book United to help stores get back on their feet, because comic shops are sweet. So, very disturbing series, and as usual, disturbing covers. And here's the Ice Cream Man with his mask, and it's $5.99. It doesn't say how many. It doesn't say how many pages it is, but it's 6 issues together. Declan Shalvey, Al Ewing, P.G. Holden, Dennis Camp, Artyom Topolin, etc. are the various other special guests in the book. So, Brand New Ice Cream Man. Have you read any of those? It's a really weird series. Can be very disturbing, with a veneer of an ice cream man of our youth. Moving over to Dynamite, not many to pick from, but I got the Mars Attacks versus Red Sonja #2. This is the Arthur Sweetum cover. Just an epic-looking Martian. And this is one of the many sort of mashups that are kind of hot at the moment. Mars Attacks plus Red Sonja. And hey, Stevie, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. We're talking about comic books, so we'll be doing our usual magic stream tonight, but at the moment it's comic book time. So this is an epic cover. The weird Martians from Mars Attacks, and they meet Red Sonja of the Hyborian Age. That's also the Conan age. And this cover, I just love it. It's a close-up on the Martian, and there's a few other ones in this series. Have you ever watched the Mars Attacks movies? That was like a Tim Burton movie from the 90s. Here's another one of these covers. Looks really cool. This is obviously a Star Wars homage. We got Red Sonja right there, looking as tough as always. Another Sweetum cover right there. There's some other covers in this series. This is issue #1. Chris Perillo. His style is also very, very good, very realistic. And even though the Martians are obviously way more advanced than the Age of Conan heroes, I would still bet on Red Sonja to defeat them because she's very, very tough. Are they comedy? I haven't read the first issue yet, but these are the books that I'm wanting to check out myself. Probably not really comedy, because the movie was kind of comedy, but the comics have kind of been a little bit more mature. And the original Mars Attacks characters first came out on trading cards in the 60s. And they were very controversial because they were very violent. Very violent trading cards. When everyone was trading, Snoopy cards or whatever, this series of cards came out of like an alien invasion, a Martian invasion to the Earth, and it was extremely violent. It wasn't really until the Tim Burton movie that it was kind of like more comedic, even though it still had some weird violent aspects, like when the Martians melted people's flesh off. But this is probably not that comedic. Next up, going over to Boom Studios. If people are a fan of Firefly, we've got the collected issues. This is collects Firefly, the Outlaw Ma Reynolds, and Firefly issues 13 to 15. This is Greg Pak as the writer, artist Lalit Kumar Sharma, David Gianfelice, George Cambadayas, and the cover artist Mark Aspinall. So pretty cool cover, realistic style. And the characters look like the characters. There's the Firefly. I remember watching watching some episodes of Firefly, and that was back in, when did the first Firefly series come out? I feel like in the 90s, late 90s, like 99 or something. But it might even be like in the early 2000s. I don't quite remember. People loved it. It was only out for one season. But the brown coats, I believe that's what they call themselves, the fans of Firefly, they love the series, and there was a movie, which was the movie Serenity, and then a bunch of comics, so keeping the stories alive. And this one is the latest compilation here, kicking off a new Firefly epic. Discover the secret history of Maul and his mother, and the new brewing war to end all wars, from New York Times best-selling writer Greg Pak, who worked on Star Wars and X-Men, and artist David Gianfelice worked on Wolverine, and Lalit Kumar Sharma worked on Daredevil. Mal has handed himself into the Alliance, but it turns out he's not the one they want. The infamous Ma Reynolds, that's Mal's mom, is at the top of the Alliance's most wanted, and if Mal doesn't get to her first, the Alliance will. Collects Firefly 1 and 13 to 15. Another Boom Studios book, Slaughterhouse 5 original graphic novel. Okay, so this is the classic Kurt Vonnegut novel. It is a novel from the 70s, I believe. Kurt Vonnegut, one of these famous novels that people read in high school, which I never did, which I want to, but I never got to it. And here it is in comic book format. Yeah, the show came out in 2002. You loved the movie Serenity, but when you watched it in the theaters, never knew it was the finale of the show. Yeah, that's what my parents did as well. They went to go watch Serenity, and they didn't know that it was part of a series, the finale or whatever. And they're like, yeah, cool movie. But then they didn't know that it was the full thing. So, Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse 5, or the Children's Crusade graphic novel. So, did you ever read this? A lot of people read it in high school. Ryan North, who worked on Squirrel Girl for Marvel, adapted Vonnegut's work here. Scott Newman is the cover artist, and then interior art by Albert Montes. Kurt Vonnegut's classic adapted in graphic novel for the first time. With Vonnegut's seminal anti-war story, Slaughterhouse 5, Eisner Award-winning writer Ryan North worked on Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, and Eisner Award-nominated artist Albert Monte, who worked on Universe, translate a literary classic into comic book form in the tradition of A Wrinkle in Time and Fight Club 2. Billy Pilgrim has read Kilgore Trout and opened a successful optometry business. Billy Pilgrim has built a loving family and witnessed the firebombing of Dresden. Billy Pilgrim has traveled to the planet Tralfamador and met Kurt Vonnegut. Billy Pilgrim has come unstuck in time. Slaughterhouse 5 is at once a farcical look at the horror and tragedy of war, where children are placed in the front lines and die, so it goes, and a moving examination of what it means to be a fallible human. So classic story, classic novel turned into a comic book, and I think it's pretty cool that the variety of comics can be from the superhero comics, or taking classic works of literature into comic book format. And I think the ultimate goal of this is to present literature in a different way, and then maybe entice people to go read the originals. And it doesn't show what the interior art looks like, but I love this. Oh, here we go. Here's some interiors right here. So let's get some close-ups on some of this art. Looks good. So yeah, it's this sort of like flat. It's this sort of like flat colorization. Welcome aboard, Mr. Pilgrim. We are the Tralfalmadorians. We communicate telepathically and have no voice boxes, but the speaker translates our thoughts into earthling speech sounds you can hear. So yeah, that's that. It kind of looks like European style of comic art that I've seen before. It looks like a pretty good art. Ooh, I kind of like this style of like a variety of items. Yep, so that one's from Boom Studios. I never read the book myself. What about yourself? I never read it in high school. I know, though, it's like one of these famous ones, and even if you didn't read it in high school, people read it after that. But this is one of the classic works. Another Boom Studios, 7 Secrets number 1. Now, there's no description here, so let's go back to a previous one. Let's look at this one here. For fans of Once and Future and Undiscovered Country comes an all-new original series from New York Times best-selling author Tom Taylor, who worked on Deceased, and artist Danielle De Nicolo, who worked on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, about 7 powerful secret words, wonders, weapons, and worse, with the power to change the world. For centuries, the Order has trusted in keepers and holders. to guard the secrets in 7 briefcases against all harm. But when their stronghold is attacked and the secrets are in peril, the entire order must face their greatest fear, an enemy who knows too much and is willing to kill to get what they want. Now the Order's newest member, Casper, must discover the truth of the secrets before the enemy does, or risk losing everything. So, cool concept. The one I'm recommending coming for the next week is the 3rd printing. If you didn't pick up issue number 1 first printing, they're publishing a 3rd printing. And like I say, there are various reasons to be into comics. Of course, reading it, the stories, the art, also the collectability. So if you're into like the collectability of things, an issue number 1 of a comic is often very collectible, and then multiple printings, 3rd printing and so forth, often lower print run. There's less of them that exist. So that means it's more scarce and rare. And so that's what I'm picking right here. 3rd printing, 7 secrets. Okay, this one's cool. Judge Dredd. Have you heard of Judge Dredd before? He was first. One of the ways perhaps that people knew about him in the US was that Sylvester Stallone movie in the 90s where he's yelling, "I am the law," and he had his helmet off most of the time. Well, this is a character that came out first in England in the comic book 2000 AD. Sometime around the late 70s. And the plot takes place in Mega City 1, which is the future. After like nuclear destruction of the world, there's like pockets of humanity. Mega City 1 is one of them, which ties together most of like New York and a bunch of cities on the East Coast. And then like most of the middle of the US is like destroyed wasteland. And maybe there's Los Angeles. I don't remember the whole thing. But judges in that future basically stop crime. They're judge, jury, and executioner all in one. So in a violent future, to stop mutants and criminals, the judges go out and like, yeah, you're guilty, and then you're also sentenced at that moment, and you're dead. So that's a little bit behind Judge Dredd. This year's 2000 AD Summer Special coincides with Rebellion, marking their 20th anniversary, publishing the galaxy's greatest comic. So this year, it's a 100-page celebration of the last 2 decades, mixing brand new stories with classic cuts from the archives, with a cover from Jock and new tales from Al Ewing on Judge Dredd, Dan Abnett on Kingdom, and Ian Eddington on The Red Seas, plus a delve into the archives featuring Nikolai Dante and Sinister Dexter, and features exploring Rebellion's tenure as 2000 AD publisher. You won't want to miss this birthday bonanza. So 100 pages, $14.99, multiple stories, publishing Judge Dredd. There was another Judge Dredd movie within the last 10 years. People said it was way better than the Sylvester Stallone movie. It followed the original plot a little bit better. And that's one to check out at a good price for a lot of pages. You can see some interior art right here. So beautiful black and white art. Very detailed. Usually on these previews they don't have a lot of the text. That's kind of funny. They show like previews without the text. Judge Dredd as usual, very tough. Yeah, so they definitely have removed all of the text, but you can kind of tell like this guy is trying to talk his way out of his troubles, but Judge Dredd is not having it, and then he's like, you know, poor woe is me, and then his little eyeball, and then Judge Dredd, tough. So that's one there. Black Mask Comics has Nobody is in Control, trade paperback. Patrick Kindlin is the writer, and Paul Tucker is the artist. Synopsis. When Richard sees a man run through his yard, he follows him out of concern. This deep in the woods, he must be lost, must be in trouble. But soon it's Richard in peril, as this stranger drags him into a deep, twisted web of conspiracy, going back hundreds of years. by writer Patrick Kindlin, artist Paul Tucker, and hand-lettered by Wallace Ryan. Collects issues 1 through 4. So 4 issues, $16.99 of a story that sounds really weird. Like, what would you do? Someone is running through your back, your backyard, and you try to help, but then it turns out to be like some weird conspiracies or whatever beyond that. So cool cover there. I like this shattered light bulb. That could be an allegory for like broken ideas. It collects a bunch of issues there. No art previews, but you get the sense of that. Next up, Sweetheart, trade paperback volume 1. Dylan Gilbertson, writer, Francesco Ianquinta as the artist. The award-winning series, Collected at Last, Sweetheart, is a bone-chilling, emotional horror story about growing up in a town where being chosen by bloodthirsty monsters is an everyday risk. Follow the life of Maddie, who, being chosen herself, must overcome self-loathing and public ridicule in order to save herself, her family, and a town with no interest in being saved. That looks pretty epic. What do you think about that cover right there? Some sort of weird creature in the darkness. That logo looks amazing. It looks like veins. Oh, I see. I was going to say that red moon right there looks weird, but actually there's like a heart behind the A, which isn't quite visible. I don't think that they needed to have the heart plus the vein effect. Anyway, so then there's like a weird creature looking at a house in the darkness, or like an amazing horror cover right here. Even the font down here showing the artist, showing the creators' names looks pretty cool. That's an amazing cover. What do you think about that cover? It would look cool as a poster. I could have the poster right there as I stream, a really scary poster for people to look at as I'm streaming. And the plot sounds interesting too. So it collects. It's a trade paperback. It doesn't say how many issues it collects, but for $14.99 it's probably 3 to 5 issues or something. And let's see, view all items. What else is there? Just that one item. So Sweetheart from Action Lab / Danger Zone. And one more item here. Zorro, Galleon of the Dead. This is from American Mythology Productions. Mike Wolfer is the writer. Alex Miracolo is the artist, and Mark Wolfer is the cover artist. The most shocking, mind-bending Zorro tale yet in American mythology's line of all new supernatural adventures in the world-renowned swashbuckling hero. Cueva del Mar is haunted by that means Cave of the Sea, is haunted by a curse that prowls the fog-shrouded coast of the seaside fishing village, whose residents have no choice but to offer human sacrifices to the unknown evil that appears on nights of the full moon. So, let's look at the cover right here. You got some weird sea creature versus Zorro. What do you think about that? I know when I think about Zorro, I think about like realistic stories, and here they have like these supernatural stories, and Zorro is celebrating 100 years. You think of characters like Spider-Man, pretty young. He debuted in 1962. Then you look at Batman. He debuted in 1939. Superman in 1938. Wonder Woman in 1941. Zorro in 1990. Now, I wouldn't think of him as a superhero, but he has a secret identity. He's a wealthy socialite that puts on the mask and battles the forces at night. Hey, that sounds like Batman. And he's got cool weapons and training and all of that. I would count him as a superhero. And this is This is a new issue number 1 of a 4-issue miniseries. So as we wrap up for the day, the last things that we'll look at is we've got some toys. Where are these at? Here we go. We've got some toys and stuff that are coming out. How about one of these cool pins? Here is a X-Men, the animated series fig pin. I've been seeing these more and more, and they look really cool. There's like, you know, Funko Pops, and these are the bobbleheads and so forth. And here's fig pins. They're like these huge pins that look very good, just like the original characters. Here's Rogue. 3 inches tall. Can we get a better close-up right there? Yeah, and like very detailed. I love like these thick black outlines. And then the details inside. There's Rogue. We also have Wolverine. I love these. They're $14.99. A little expensive, I guess. But that's a cool looking Wolverine, the blades and everything. Got some Naruto Chibi vinyl decals. Here's Sakura. I kind of don't love the style, the chibi style of this one. There's other ones that are better, I think. But these are like these vinyl stickers to put on your window or your notebook or whatever. These are like the big head style of those things. There's Sasuke. Doesn't look as angry as he usually does. Yeah, I don't love these. I just wanted to show them. What do you think about them? I think those X-Men pins are way better. And then these like chibi cute tiny Narutos, I'm not loving. This is like a one more. Naruto with a bowl of ramen. What a stereotype. Yep, there we go. Moving on. Got a bunch of these puzzle pieces. Scooby-Doo puzzle. 500 pieces. This is for like if you have nothing to do, because this would drive me insane. 500 pieces in a 14 by 11 size or so. How big is that? Like that big, I guess. It's not that even. It's not even that big. But then you're gonna have some things like, you know, this orange right here. All of these orange pieces go together. Yeah, puzzles. Oh man, this is like giving me anxiety just looking at it. Then we have a bunch of these rubber duck cosplay rubber ducks. These are like kind of cute and fun. Here is a 1970s Batman style. This is from Tubbs. That's hilarious. A Batman rubber duck cosplay. Harley Quinn. These are cute. $12.95 each. A little lipstick on her and such. Did she have lipstick in the originals? They even have the Nuka-Cola pinup girl. Robin looks cool. Then they have the Vault Boy. God of War. Actually, yeah, let's look at Kratos, God of War. That is too funny. They've just been doing mashups of things so much nowadays, right, to catch people's attention. Like, here's a rubber duck, but he's Kratos. There's a bunch of them here. One of the clickers from The Last of Us. This is horrific. Oh no. Look at that. That is the most disturbing toy I've ever seen in my life. one of these infected clickers from The Last of Us. They come in a cute little bathtub thing. And then we'll finish with Jill Valentine, rubber ducky cosplay thing from Resident Evil. Right there. Hilarious. Well, I think that's a good stopping point right there. This has been the usual show where we talk about comic books, issue number ones that are cool, collections, variant covers, toys, and so forth. I do this every Saturday at 1 p.m. Hopefully you'll be able to join me again next time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Adjust for your time zone. If you weren't able to watch the show live, you can replay it, and we have chapter stops in the description to jump from company to company, and then also in the progress bar, you can see that there. So thanks everyone for hanging out to talk about comics. Tell me which ones you're looking forward to. What did I miss? What should I be on the lookout for? What about some fun collectibles and such? Tell me all about it in the comments, or when we're live, tell me there in the chat. This has been VM Campos, comic book fan, and I'll see you next time.